I couldn't be there with you today, so we're doing the next best thing. I'll record this demo and you watch it, and then you can do the assignment. And for those of you who can't be at school, it's kind of like the same old thing, right? You watch the video and then you go to work. This is the beginning of a new week, quarter number 2, week number 4. Today's going to be about float and drift. Tomorrow's called end game. Wednesday is about functions. On Thursday, we do another exercise with functions, and then it finally happens. The game design project begins on Friday the 13th and carries on into the next week. I'll tell you all about that when we get to it on Friday. But that's a quick peek at the week, and that is all set up on Google Classroom. Today we're working on this thing called Float and Drift, and it's about game control that is a little different than just using the up, down, right, left arrows. And I want you to see it, and I want you to do it. And then you can make a decision later about whether or not this is something that you feel like you want to use in a game design of your own. I'm going to hop over here and diagram something out here for a moment. Won't be here long. We're going to do 4 things in this program. One thing is we're going to simulate gravity. And when you simulate gravity, that means there's a force pulling down. Now, also, if you pay attention to real gravity, things don't just fall at a constant force. They accelerate. They get faster as they go to a certain extent. There's what's called terminal velocity, and it doesn't get any faster after that, but things accelerate as they fall down. They go a little bit faster, a little faster, a little faster. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to create in the player that you work with, by using a keystroke, you get some upward force, and that works against gravity. So that makes it so gravity's pulling on the player, but if you tap a key, and in my demo, I'm going to use the up arrow. If you tap the up arrow, you don't have to hold it down, you just have to tap it, and that will apply some upward force to the player, and that works against the gravity. But once that upward force, gravity is also working against the upward force, and so it's kind of like this war going on, right? You got gravity pulling down, you got the upward force pulling up or pushing up, and sooner or later the upward force kind of runs out and the gravity takes over, and that's a real life kind of thing. All right, now another thing we're going to do is add a little bit of what's called drift left and drift right, so that if you press the left arrow or the right arrow, you get a little bit of drift over to the left, you get a little bit of drift over to the right, and it's not like it takes off like a rocket over to the left or right, but just a little drift, a little float over to the left or to the right. So we're going to be working with 4 different forces. We're going to simulate gravity, which is pointing down. We're going to give upward thrust, which is working against the gravity, and we're going to throw in some drift right and some drift left. All right. So let's start to take a look at how all of this occurs. There's a handout about this, and you can use the handout if needed. If the video is helpful, then great. The video should be helpful. And here's code that we'll use. So I'm going to go ahead and click the code, and I'll do the normal things. I'm going to do view code. I'm going to remix. I'm going to rename. I like to take out the word remix up there, and I'll just call this movie demo. All right, so it's float and drift movie demo is what I'm calling mine because I'm producing the movie. All right, now you can kind of see the whole shebang. Here's what we got. When I run the program, there's a coin that appears in a random location, and there's this little flying bot here that really he won't move at all right now. This is it. This is the entire program. Nothing else happens. We're going to throw in this float and drift. We're going to simulate gravity and do all those things I talked about. All right, so let's go to work on that. And if you're looking at the whole view of all the code right now, you'll see that I put in comments to kind of show you where to put stuff. So that could help you a little bit. You can stick the simulate gravity commands right in here. Float up, drift right, drift left. And then I put in a command here. You'll see it here in a minute. If the bot does touch the coin relocates. We've done that kind of thing before. All right, let's simulate some gravity. Here it is. I'm going to, I'm going to create a counter pattern using velocity. Now watch how I do this. I'm going to say, it's bot and coin, right? Those are the names of the objects. Bot is the little player. So I'm going to bring over a sprite velocity y. Watch how I do this. And I'm going to throw in an adding block from the math drawer, and it's going to be another sprite velocity y. And that's going to be bot and bot. Now, you have to pay attention. That's not bot.y. That's not sprite.y. That is sprite velocity.y. And when I said boy here, that's not going to work because there's nothing called boy. All right, so it's velocity y that I'm using there. It is not just dot y, it's velocity y. And you have to pay attention to that because if you try to do it with dot y, this isn't going to work. All right, now we want to add something to that. It's a counter loop, so whatever we're adding to it, so it should kind of get more and more and more. But I don't want to add very much, so I'm just going to add a 0.1. Now you could play with numbers here and see what you get, but let's take a look here. If I run this, and you have to, excuse me, you probably saw it as soon as I did it. I dragged over the wrong block here. Let me fix that. I brought over a dot velocity x, and that screwed the whole thing up. Much better. Bot dot velocity y equal bot dot velocity y plus 0.01. Now when I run that, okay, now I don't know how well you can tell. I'm going to run it a couple of times. Watch how he just falls slow, and he gets faster. He accelerates as he falls. Right? If you watch closely, it's like there's an acceleration to it. It starts off very slow, and it gets quicker as it goes. And that's exactly the effect that I'm going for here. Now, you could have a stronger pull of gravity. If you did a 0.2 right here or 0.3, the pull of gravity would be harder, right? It would be a stronger pull of gravity, and you would see more acceleration because the pull of gravity is stronger. I think I've got it dialed in about where I want. I think I just want that 0.1. You could do something a little bit different, but don't put in some huge number so that the gravity is so strong that he just disappears just because you think it's funny. Because that's not what we're after. We're not after, this will be hilarious. We're after game control. We're after game motion. All right, so this is what I want. I've got a downward pull, and it does accelerate. Okay, cool. Let's go on. Let's create some upward float. All right, so this is going to be an if. And again, a little thing to pay attention to. I don't want to have to hold the key to give an upward boost to the player. So if I don't want to hold the key, I'm going to use key went down. All right, so pay attention to that. That's key went down and not key down. Key down would make it so you have to hold the key to get the upward boost. I don't want to do that. I'm going to say if key went down, and I'm going to use the up arrow. All right, I just want to be able to tap the up arrow, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the velocity y of the bot, and I want it to go up, so think about your positives and negatives here. I'm going to set it to a -4, and again, you can play with the number because the higher number you have, the more upward thrust you're going to get. So let's take a look. If I run that, he's falling, but if I tap the up arrow, you see that boost? I just tap the up arrow, and it gives him an upward boost. I don't have to hold the arrow. I just tap the arrow. I could tap, tap, tap on the arrow. Every time I tap the arrow, he gets a little upward boost. So do you see the effect? I get here, tap, tap, tap on the up arrow, and then he falls back down when the gravity takes over again. I've got two things happening right now. I've got a pull of gravity, and when I tap on the up arrow key, I get a little upward boost. Now, again, I know I've said it before, but you could play with the numbers. Do you want stronger gravity? Use something besides a 0.1. Use 0.2, 0.3. Do you want more upward boost? Use something besides a -4. Use a -5, -6, -7, right? You can balance out those numbers the way you want. All right, now let's go on. Let's create some drift right and some drift left. Okay, well that's going to be done. That's going to be a keystroke again. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to stick it right here by that comment that says drift, and we're going to do drift right. Now, in this case, I do want to hold the arrow down to make him drift to the right, drift to the left. I want to hold the arrow down. All right, so if I want to hold the arrow down, I'm just going to use the key down condition here. If key down, and this one's going to be for the right arrow. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here is set up one of those counter loop kinds of things like I've got up here at line number 12, except this is going to be on the x-axis. So watch carefully. Pause the movie if you need to study it up. Pause the movie and look at it. This is going to be a sprite.velocity x. I kind of screwed up last time. Sorry about that. And I'm going to bring down a plus block, and then I'm going to go back to sprites, and I'm going to bring down another sprite.velocity x, and it's going to be bot. Right, because that's who we're controlling. And I am just going to add like a 0.2. Now, once again, the bigger the number you put in there will mean a stronger drift to the right or a stronger drift to the left. Here in a minute when we're doing left drift, you would see what I mean. So you can play with that number, get a balance that you like, but don't make it so extreme that it just flies off and it's really funny. No, it's not really funny. You're trying for game control. That has a good balance to it. All right, so let's hit reset and hit run here. So I've got the pull of gravity. I've got the tap. If I tap on the up arrow, I get upward thrust that fights against the gravity, but eventually is overcome by the gravity. And now if I hold down the right arrow a little bit, okay, now see, he's going to drift off to the right, and I can't bring him back to the left yet because I haven't done that part yet. So he drifted off to the right. I could reset it and run it again. So I make it go up, and if I hold down the right arrow a little bit, he drifts off to the right. Now you'll notice when he touches the coin does relocate. That programming is already in there. Well, all right, so let's take care of the final part of this, and that's drift left. Now really, we could, I'm pretty sure, take this little section right here that's, for me, it's at line number 22, this if block right here. I could copy that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to command or control C and copy, and I'll go down here and in this section, I'll paste it. But I have to edit that, right? That's got to be, for the key down, I'm going to make that the left because I want to drift to the left. And for this velocity x, I could still use that 0.2, but it's got to be a negative now because I'm talking about the other direction. I want to push, I want him to drift off to the left when I push on the left arrow. All right, so I think that we have all of our controls in place. We have simulated gravity. We have force up. We have drift to the right. We have drift to the left. Let's reset and run. All right, so he's falling, so I can tap on the up arrow. Now I can push the right arrow, and it'll drift him off there. Now I can push the left arrow, and it drifts him to the left. And I can, if I need him to fall, I can let him fall, but when he gets down there and tap on the up arrow, I'm tapping the up arrow, drift him to the right a little bit, and he's going to fall down. I want to drift him to the right a little bit. And I'm trying to catch, I didn't put a scoreboard on here or anything. You could do that if you wanted to, but this is the kind of control, the kind of motion that we're trying for here. It's really smooth. I'm finding it to be, I feel like I've got a good balance on this thing, and it's really smooth. Tap on the up arrow. You can push on the right or the left arrow, and you get drift in the direction that you want. And if you overdrift, you can kind of correct with, if you're going too fast to the left, then push on the right, and it kind of damps out the drift that you got. It's kind of like you're controlling a spacecraft here. All right, so this is it. I've done it, right? I've got gravity working. I've got upward thrust working. I've got drift left working. I've got drift right working. I can kind of chase that coin around. And you can see how this could be kind of a game with a different feeling in the controls rather than just, up, down, right, left, and just moving the thing. You get, it's a different feeling, right? Because there's like, it floats. It floats, and there's gravity, and there's drift, and that's exactly what we're after today. So now it's your turn to go try it. Let's get to work.